The tradition of a student-built bonfire began at Texas A&M in 1907.
Being born and raised in Bryan, Texas, and it was always a dream of mine to be a fighting Texas Aggie.
It centered around the school's long-standing rivalry with the University of Texas at Austin and the annual football game. Now that we're in the SEC, newer students aren't familiar with how major the rivalry with UT used to be. Old Aggies, though, remember what it was all about.
Me and my family, it was a family tradition going to the bonfire as long as I can remember being a little kid. So it really hit home.
The night that the Aggie bonfire fell is a night that I personally will never forget.
On November 18, 1999, Texas A&M and the Bryan-College Station community experienced a tragedy like it had never seen before.
Some of those images still today are still in my head 20 years later.
The Aggie bonfire stack that was nearing completion collapsed, taking with it the lives of 11 students and one former student.
There was people hurt everywhere.
There was, students running around crying and screaming.
It's just mass chaos. It was a lot of confusion.
27 other students were injured.
I don't know how the word got to me as fast as it did. From the time it fell, I guess somebody called somebody and then they were banging on my window, but I ended up being one of the first ones out there.
At 4 a.m., Callaway-Jones Funeral Home received a call from College Station Police Department to report to the bonfire site. 3 of our team members responded.
While I was in college, I worked part-time for Callaway-Jones. I started there right after I graduated high school. Only being on the job for 6 months, I had a lot of thoughts running through my head of how I'm going to handle this and how it's going to affect me in the future. And I remember, seeing kids removed from the stack that were my age. It was like a horror scene in a movie.
At that point, I just start trying to triage patients the best I can. As a first responder, probably one of the toughest things that you're going to deal with in a situation like that is not being able to help everybody at one time.
When this tragedy happened, there were 70 students scheduled to be working on the site. We responded immediately, but while our team waited, the recovery of the students was exceedingly challenging.
I've been doing it for a long time now, but at that time it was I was new to it, so I had never at that point responded to something of that magnitude either.
Watching the first responders, how hard they worked and trying to figure out a safe way to save the kids that were trapped under there.
One shift of a log could shift other logs, and if there were survivors in there, you could hurt them or kill them because you shifted a log wrong. You have to imagine how stressful that is, because you want to just barrel in there and help people, but if there was somebody in there within a void, the rescue teams there had to deal with making sure they didn't dislodge one log that would cause a chain reaction of other logs and shift the whole stack and then cause more injury to the people inside.
It would be until after midnight the next day before they recovered the last student. Our focus remains on the students whose love of Texas A&M was so strong that they spent their final day doing what they loved, working on the bonfire. We remember them now, 20 years later. They are forever in the hearts and minds of Aggies around the world.
Every time I drive by University and Texas Avenue, I still see that stack. It's a memory that I can't get out of my mind.
Today, an on-campus bonfire is no more. Traditions have changed, football conferences have changed, and an entirely new world awaits Aggies. However, lest we never forget, today we remember with the help of an exceptional bonfire memorial. The Bonfire Memorial was dedicated on the exact location of the 1999 bonfire. The Bonfire Memorial embodies many layers of meaning associated with the Aggie spirit, a deep sense of belonging, a strong spirit of teamwork and leadership, and an enduring sense of tradition that unites thousands. The memorial comprises 3 areas: the Tradition Plaza, the History Walk, and the Spirit Ring. As you stand in front of it, you feel the history and tradition of students who came before you, who believed in something with all their hearts, the love for Texas A&M and all the traditions. Although a tragedy 20 years ago ended the burning of a fire on campus to show school spirit, there's nothing that ends an Aggie's school spirit. 20 years later, Callaway-Jones remembers those whose lives ended, showing the ultimate in school spirit. We continue to remember and respect the traditions of Texas A&M, and we appreciate and respect the first responders who answered the call when tragedy happened that night 20 years ago. May we never again experience a tragedy of that magnitude in our community, and may the light of the Aggie spirit always burn brightly in our hearts.